has changed. America has changed. If something were to happen tomorrow, how self-sufficient would you be? Could you grow your own food? Could you sustain your own livestock? Could you survive? This is the We Grow Our Show with Nick and Don. Nick and Don talk about everything from politics to planting. They cover techniques, methods, and tips on how to not only survive, but thrive. Visit the website at WeGrowOurs.com. Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show. Get your grow on.
Welcome to the We Grow Our Show.
I still love the intro.
Oh,
it gets me pumped up.
Yeah, every week. I love it. It's an excuse to listen to my name said in the deep guy voice.
That's right.
Lock and load.
Lock and load.
Anyway, so this week on the We Grow Our Show, we will be discussing a few things here.
Most importantly, Senate Bill 1151. Yeah. What is that, you say? Nick, tell him.
Chickens!
That's right.
Anyway, chicken bill. No, actually it's called the Homegrown Freedom Act. This bill just went to committee on Monday.
Just passed.
Well, yeah, it passed committee. That's right. So it's not officially a bill on the state level yet. We've got to vote. It's got to be voted for on the Senate floor as well as the House.
That's right.
But it was pretty awesome. I actually had the privilege to sit in the committee and listen to the debates there. And, honestly,
I wanted to be there so bad.
Oh, you missed out. You missed out because this, the representative of the opposition didn't stand a chance. I mean, it was halfway through. I kind of felt bad for her, but then again, I thought, no, this woman is stomping on my rights as an individual to control my food supply. So, and she's doing it under the guise of protecting homeowners everywhere. Well, it's just not, that's not the case. Okay, let me give you a little bit of what this bill actually is.
Yeah, I've actually got the bill pulled up right here. So,
Don, would you read that for
basically, us? Municipality may not adopt a zoning ordinance that prohibits residents of a single-family detached residence from keeping fowl in the backyard of the property. Basically, that's what it comes down to.
Yep.
Fowl. You cannot stop people from keeping fowl, chickens, quail,
ducks,
turkeys, anything in the backyard. Now, municipalities have the power to limit that.
Yes.
And they're not asking for roosters here. In fact, that's actually out of the bill. No roosters.
That's right. It keeps the municipalities will be able to limit roosters if they want, and they can limit the number of hens if they want. And the reason it was written that way is we wanted to keep everybody on board that, the first thing you think of is when you hear rooster is, oh, I'm going to be woke up in the morning rather early, which isn't always the case. But the idea is to give the individuals rights to grow their own food and to do so without infringing on their neighbors' rights.
Absolutely.
So the noise ordinances and the smell ordinances that the cities have still stay intact. So if somebody's abusing their right to raise birds, it will be taken.
You can still go after them.
Exactly.
And there's already laws on the books for these things.
Exactly.
So one of the things that comes up a lot in talking about SB 1151, this is an Arizona bill, but guys, if you're not in Arizona, this is something you need to keep your eyes on. This could be a template for other states across this country to start to get their freedoms back.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about chickens in the backyard. And one of the big objections to this bill is that, well, chickens smell and they're loud. Well, you probably haven't been around chickens.
That's right. When you look at Hollywood, when they want to depict a farm, they really focus on the noise that the animals make. They really focus on, oh, that's a chicken. It's got a buck, 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 and it sounds ridiculously obnoxious. Well, folks, this ain't Hollywood. Chickens are not proud of their noise making abilities. They want to be quiet because they're a bird that's eaten by other birds. They don't want to be in the limelight.
That's right. They don't smell any worse than dogs. They don't make any more noise than the dogs. I wish the ordinances for some of our neighbors would stop the barking dogs. I have 26 hens in my backyard. My neighbor's one dog is much louder than my 26 hens.
Oh yeah. And what's great is, chickens are not nocturnal. So at 3 a.m., you're never going to hear a lone chicken out there.
That's right. That's right. So, Galen is bringing this up. Galen
Luth, yeah.
has done a wonderful job. So thank you, Galen. You guys can find this on Facebook. Just search for the Homegrown Freedom Act, Backyard Farmers United. And this is not over. This battle is starting. We got this bill out of committee. That's it.
Oh yeah. And not only did it get out of committee though, and this is why we're really excited, is there wasn't a single committee member that was opposed to it. In fact, we were nervous about the committee chair because she wasn't going to, before she went in there, she said she was undecided, which usually means I'm not for it.
Right.
But the first question she asked was, do chickens bark? And at first I thought she was making fun of the bill, but then I realized, no, she asked, do chickens bark? Because we've already got dog problems galore.
Right.
And chickens,
They don't bark.
They don't bark. They don't bark. They don't bark at night. They don't make any noise whatsoever when people are sleeping. And it's wonderful.
Now, again, unfortunately, I wasn't able to go. My son, my 14-year-old, had a nice little speech prepared to go down there and give. And one of his things was, please allow us to have chickens in our backyards because the nutritional values of the eggs are much better. We homeschool, so he's at home. He's knows people with allergies. This is an amazing thing, these backyard chickens. So, and this bill isn't forcing anyone to do anything. This bill is saying that we can have a couple of chickens in a backyard of a single family residence. And as long as it doesn't bother your neighbors any more than their dogs bother you, there shouldn't be a law against it. That's really what this comes down to. And it is freedom.
That's right.
So, with that said, please go to Facebook. Please help support this. There was 13 people that showed up. I want to personally thank every single one of those people. Nick, you included.
You're very welcome, Don.
So let's get these. We need more. Next time this comes up and there's public comment, and you can follow the Facebook page, you'll see this. Go on there, go like the page again. Even if you're not in Arizona, this is something that you guys need to be concerned with. Help us out. Email the senators, write them, call them, email your representatives.
There's a list posted on the Facebook page
and the website.
That's right. There's a list posted there of who you need to contact to say, hey, we all want this. And the more their phones and emails blow up, the more they're going to say, wow, yeah, I better do this because my constituents need this.
That's right.
This, and they're going to vote for me if I back them.
And it's not just to call the guys that have not supported this yet, but call the ones that have and say thank you.
Exactly. And whatever you do, don't be rude. The last thing we need is to get a senator with a vendetta against us because somebody was rude to him.
Yeah.
True, we shouldn't be having to beg for our right to have birds. But at the same time, we initiated this. This is our offensive now. So we need to do so politely and show them that we're a respectable bunch.
Yeah. Let's help educate the people that are against this because most people that don't support it haven't been around chickens. Let me put it that way. So
there's a lot of, pardon the phrase, but it's a lot of ignorance and ignorance is not necessarily a bad word. It's just a state of being that can be changed.
Absolutely. So other than that today on the show, we're going to, talk about the Other than that today on the show, we are going to talk about the Jackalope Freedom Festival. I'm going to put a link to the,
what a jackalope.
We're going to talk about that a bit. I'm going to put that in the show notes, link out to that. I think we've got an announcement hopefully next week that we're going to be talking about that a little bit more, but take a look, do a Google search on it. I will, put the link up. I hope everybody can attend. It is in August, so you guys have some notice. This sounds like a lot of fun. I've never been, and I really want to go to this. I want to go camping. I love camping.
Nothing better than going out camping and
being around people that love freedom.
Exactly. And the best part is if you do live here in the Phoenix Valley, where the Jackalope Freedom Fest is held is about 30 degrees away. And
That's
by
right.
30 degrees, I mean if it's 110 degrees up where you live, it's going to be 80 degrees out there. So
Great time of year to get away. So we will put a link to that up. Another special announcement, $25 Bass Pro Shop gift card. If anybody wants it, just go ask us.
yeah.
Yeah. WeGrowOurs.com/ask us. Record your question. We will feature it on the podcast. Even if we don't put it on the podcast and you just go in there and say, hey, I want to enter, you're entered. So $25 Bass Pro Shop gift card. We're giving it away on Friday, February 28th. Listen to the podcast and we will announce the winner. And you guys just give us a call and claim your $25 gift card.
Yeah, our goal is to talk about things that you want to hear. So by all means, give us some suggestions. We're not the omnipotent. We don't know everything.
That's right. Today we're talking about ham radio.
That's right, ham radio.
It's a little off topic, but I think it's well worth it.
Yeah, it's even if you're not, I'm sure we've got a few preppers out there and survivalists.
I think a few.
But if you're not so much in that group, this is still something you should be well versed in.
That's right.
It's good to have a backup radio because phone systems fail. Let's say you're down on your luck and you can't afford your cell phone or your house phone or
Information.
whatever. That's right.
It can be the only source of information out there. So everybody should pick one of these up. In my opinion, everybody should get licensed. That includes me and Nick. So we will be working on that. What else? We are going to do the plug of the week. And I think right now we want to introduce Doug. And Doug is going to talk to us a bit about ham radios. You've known Doug for a while, haven't you, Nick?
Yeah, actually, I grew up in the same neighborhood as where he lived. He's obviously a little bit older than I am, but, it's funny. Doug and I go way back. We went to church together and, he helped out in scouting a lot while I was young Boy Scout.
I didn't know you were a Boy Scout.
I'm an Eagle, man.
Are you?
Oh,
wow. Yeah. My kids are, Arrow of Lights.
Arrow of Lights.
Yeah, so they're working their way up. We had a little issue. I'm not going to get into this. We had a little issue with the scouts, but I think we're going to try and get them back into scouting, especially with the homeschooling. It seems like a great program. So
I'm a little afraid to ask what the issue is. We're going to go ahead and skip over that. Hey, guess what? Why don't you, if you want to hear more about Don's scouting issue, go to Ask Us.
Yeah, show suggestions too. I know we've had people ask us, composting, raising worms, vermiculture.
I know what vermiculture is.
I know you do.
I've got slippery friends.
That's right. I mean, we talked about eating bugs. We can talk about growing worms, right? Yeah. And actually worms and aquaponics are really important. So we are going to be covering that stuff. Nick is a biofuel guy. So that will be coming. We've got a request for humanure, which I just want to stay a little far away from.
Well, at least downwind.
I would rather eat bugs. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to hear about
raised in the humanure.
That's right. And nothing. No, that's certainly, yeah. So whatever you guys want to hear, get on there. WeGrowOurs/ask us. Thank you, for all your support. We are having a blast. I hope you guys are too. So here's Doug.
All right, today on the We Grow Our show, we've got Doug Pelly. And Doug, you've been doing ham radio for quite some time now. How long you been in the hobby?
Going on 40 years.
40 years at the mic. I like it. So what exactly is ham radio?
Ham radio is the best backup communication system in this world. It is a hobby, and it's run by all 100% volunteers. Anyone can get a license. Anyone with a license and a radio and a little bit of experience can get a radio on the air when the power is out, during a disaster, whatever, with a battery, a radio, and a simple antenna, and be able to get on the air and communicate with someone across town, across the state, across the country, around the world, depending on their location and the situation.
All right. Hey, Doug, you brought up power and running these with, off the grid scenario type things. Let me ask you, I've always been under the impression that ham radios require a lot of power to run. So how do I power my radio when the grid goes down, or how can I get really far communications without a lot of power?
Okay. A lot of power is not always necessary. In fact, a lot of power is rarely necessary. A handheld radio that runs on a battery is enough to, depending on what your location, what line of sight systems are available to you, and across the United States, and especially in the western part of the country where there are tall mountains, a handheld walkie-talkie, you can talk a couple of 100 miles using repeater system.
Wow. Okay. So tell me why ham radio is still important to like our audience members, the urban farmers, city folks, as well as some out of area folks that might live a little further than the cities. Why is ham something that we're talking about today? What do you think the relevance of ham is?
Number one, it has no infrastructure. Like I say, anybody with a radio and a license can get on the air. Using the amateur airwaves, no one is in control other than the hams themselves. And on certain bands, the HF spectrum, commonly also known as shortwave, below 30 megahertz, the ionosphere is in charge. Thus, you can talk long distances or good communications over your local area, like I say, with very little power and not much equipment at all. And again, no infrastructure that is beyond your control, such as a switch telephone network, the internet, etc., where, you are not in control. On the ham radio frequencies, you're in control.
I like that. I like being in control. Now, you said that the ionosphere is your limit. Sorry, that sounds like something I heard on Star Trek once. You're going to have to explain. What is the ionosphere?
The lower frequencies, below 30 megahertz in the RF spectrum, will bounce off the ionosphere. I think everybody's heard the term skip, and that's what skip is bouncing off the ionosphere between the Earth and the sky and back to Earth again. Huh. And thus, like a repeater on a mountaintop at the VHF and UHF frequencies, this is it's like Mother Nature's natural radio reflector, like a mirror in the sky for radio.
So if I'm not mistaken, Doug, that's actually what allows ham radio operators to talk to people around the world in other countries, is because you're sending the signal up, it's hitting the ionosphere and bouncing back down thousands and thousands of miles away. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
So Doug, here's another question for you. Now, I'm a big movie guy, and that's where I get most of my education. In the movie Red Dawn, the new one that came out, they've got this device that shuts down communications. It's like a scrambler of sorts. They didn't go into details on how it worked, but is there a kryptonite to ham radio, if you will? Is there something that could shut down ham radio should the grid go down?
There are two things that can shut down ham radio in the RF spectrum. The EMP that all the disaster preparedness folks talk about, that is a genuine concern for amateur operators, and we can go into types of equipment that are more immune to that another time if you wish. But as that magnetic pulse travels, also solar flares, certain solar flares can also cause disruptions in the ionosphere that can cause the radio signals to be absorbed rather than to reflect. And it can even affect propagation at the higher frequency. Generally, when these events happen, they are short-lived, a matter of minutes, a few hours. So they are short-lived events when they do happen.
So Doug, let me ask you, can I just go out and buy a ham radio and start talking on it? I know there's some licensing, but what kind of prevents you from doing that? And why would I want to get licensed versus not getting licensed?
Anyone can go out and buy a radio. It's what you do with it after you buy it that can be an issue. Ham police themselves, for the most part. We do follow FCC regs. The Federal Communications Commission plays a very minor role in amateur enforcement. The hams enforce themselves. There are designated ham operators as official observers. They're more along the enforcement line. Again, hams, ham operators it's not citizens band. Hams have to work to obtain a license, and hams are proud of the license they obtain. And most hams will not tolerate, I'll just use the term riffraff, like you will find in the 11-meter spectrum.
And that's the CB radio you're referring to.
Correct.
So what's the difference between, I mean, why would somebody who, a prepper, for example, why would they want a ham radio over a CB radio?
Because because the frequencies are somewhat policed by the hams themselves. You're far less apt to find a bunch of junk going on the radios, and you have an emergency situation and you need to get through, and you're not going to be able to get through. In the amateur spectrum, come up on any frequency, on any system, and if you've got an emergency, that E word, hams respect it, hams know it, hams listen for it. They'll hear emergency, and you will have number one top priority.
I like that. That's the ultimate call to attention. Usually you guys are operating in a group of some type. What exactly is a ham club?
There are many clubs around the world in the hobby. Again, the hobby has so many different aspects to it. It's not just talking on the radio. There are many different aspects to the amateur radio hobby. And there are clubs that can fill the needs of the various aspects. Most of the clubs do revolve around the 2-meter and 440 megahertz systems, the line of sight VHF, UHF systems that involve mountaintop or tower top repeaters. There are expenses to obtaining and maintaining repeater systems, and thus it's out of the reach of many individuals, and so the clubs will take care of it. Individuals can join a club for a very modest annual dues and support these repeater systems in that way.
Now, we talked a little bit about licensing before. What are the steps to get a license?
There are 3 license classes available today: the technician, the general, and the extra. To obtain a license, you need to take a written test. There used to be a Morse code requirement. That Morse code requirement went away, I think 7 or 8 years ago or so. So it's only a written test. The test for the entry level, the technician test, I am told today's test, it's about the equivalent of a difficult 6th grade science test.
Well, I'm screwed then.
The general class, they say, is the equivalent of a difficult high school science test, and the extra is the equivalent of a difficult college science test.
See, I'd like to just get a form where I can make my mark at the bottom. I guess that's out of the question, huh?
And again, there is no Morse code requirement anymore, only the written test.
So what type of radio do you think is a good starter radio? So we've got our listeners out there, and we're going to talk about why they would want to get in ham in a little bit and kind of some of the benefits of that. But what should they go out and look for? How do they choose a ham radio? Is it best to go to a local shop that sells these things or order on the internet? What's your kind of suggestion being in the industry for so long?
Well, again, that depends on what you're looking for, your budget, what you want to do with it, and other variables there. The average new ham, of course, is a technician class licensee, meaning he can operate, for the most part, at 50 megahertz and above. So he's going to want something to talk on the repeater systems, is going to be his primary interest, or simplex, which means radio to radio without a repeater. Over a very short distance. Most people want to buy a walkie-talkie or a handheld as their first radio. And again, that's over a mobile radio. And again, that's a personal choice. You can there's Chinese walkie-talkies out there, and they're available for under $50 for a dual band. It operates in the 440 spectrum and the 144 megahertz 2-meter spectrum. You can buy one of these things for under $50. A decent Japanese, much better quality, much longer lasting Japanese radio, you're going to get change back from $200. It's going to be in that $200 ballpark for a decent one, and likewise a decent mobile radio. That's a radio that'll make 40 to 50 watts. That can be installed in a vehicle or installed in a structure using a power supply. Under $500 for a good mobile radio there for these bands. Another option now is to buy this equipment used. Another option is you can sometimes obtain, and this is what I've done since I've been in the business, in the commercial business, is take old commercial equipment and retune it, reprogram it for the amateur bands. And sometimes you can get some real good deals on eBay for that type of equipment. So again, there's lots of different choices out there.
I remember back in the day when you and I, we go back a ways, but you had an antenna in your yard that looked like it rivaled most people's TV antennas, and that was what, 30 feet?
Oh, I have a tower in my backyard that's a 56-foot tower.
Okay. That's one good way to piss off the neighbors, put something brand new like that in. But then we had a conversation where you said that you were getting better reception off of something that you built on your truck than you did off of your tower. Is that still true, or?
I don't remember that conversation. Can't help you there.
Oh, I mean, we're stretching back 10 years. I barely remember it. I just remember you had a lot of antennas on your truck. You said that you got better use out of off the one that was on your truck than you did at your house.
Well, I do use my mobile radios far more than I use my radios at my fixed location because in my line of work and also vacation and travel and stuff, I'm on the road quite a bit. That might have been what I was referring to.
Might be. I mean, I think that conversation happened when I was 16. I was probably thinking of girls at the moment. Who knows? So what are the steps to going and getting your license? Who do I call? Where do I go? What's the process?
Well, number one, if you can find a ham that will Elmer you. That's the ham radio term for mentor you. Elmer you, like the first name Elmer. Elmer you into the hobby.
See, I figured with it being ham that it would be Wilbur you into the hobby, but that's
okay. Well, we could talk about where the term ham comes from sometimes, because a lot of it's.
How about right now? Because I've been wanting bacon ever since ham. It's like, oh, I'm kind of a fat guy though. That's immediately where I go is bacon. So how did ham become the term?
Well, it has nothing to do with the theater, like a lot of people think. It has nothing to do with the four-legged animal that bacon comes from, and that. It actually goes back to the days of Morse telegraphy before radio. Like in every profession, hobby, whatever, there are good people that can operate and know their stuff really well. And then there are people who are not so good at it. Back in those days, telegraphers that were just not really so good at it were known as hams. Then when radio was invented, radio came to be, of course, the first radio communications were Morse code. Was not voice, it was Morse code. And in the early days of radio, there weren't channels like we have today. Radios were very broad, very wide. You transmitted and anybody with a receiver would hear you. And here we had different people, different groups of people wanting to use radio. We had ship to shore. We had some business use, and then we had hobbyist experimenters using radio. This was before the FCC, before licensing. It was just a big free-for-all. People that were using radio for professional purposes, and then all of a sudden a hobbyist experimenter came online and started interfering with it. They were dubbed as a bad operator, and thus the term ham.
Did not know that.
Well, Doug, I really appreciate you coming on with us today. This has been very educational. I've been putting it off, but I really want to get a license in order to do this stuff. I believe I've got some information. I'll check over it and we'll get some in the show notes where we can send our listeners that want to sign up. I believe there's a Queen Creek Club that I know some of the people in. We probably get linked up to a national help group that will help people around the world even get involved in this. So
yeah, I'll put some show notes on. I know we've got listeners all over the world, so we'll put some notes up and give people some information. And this is a worldwide thing, Doug, right?
Yeah, it is worldwide. And the ARRL, American Radio Relay League, is the United States liaison to the rest of the world.
All right, I will definitely get that in the show notes and put that link up. So thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your knowledge, ham with us. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again in the future as well.
You bet, anytime.
Thanks.
Thanks, Doug. Well, thank you, Doug. I appreciate you coming on today.
Very informative.
Yes.
Ham is something that everybody should have in their bag. That's why we're covering it. I know it's a little outside of our scope of what we normally, we grow ours. We talk about, we're going to be doing shows on, like I said, on beekeeping, on, biofuels, on all sorts of stuff that you can grow at your home. I think this was something that we just wanted to get out there and say, hey, if you've never done ham radio, if you're not licensed, if you've never heard of it, it's one of those things that you should go look into.
Definitely.
So,
it's something that I've wanted to get into for a while. It's just, since it's not a pressing issue, I haven't gotten into it, and I just really need to get on it. It's easy enough to do that I've got no excuses for not being a licensed ham radio operator.
So next week you'll be licensed. So a follow-up from last week, we talked about bugs.
Yes.
And growing bugs at home to feed your livestock and to feed you. Mm-hmm. Nick said he won't eat bugs.
No.
But I got some follow-ups on Twitter, on Facebook, and there's a lot of people interested. So we're going to keep on with Tiny Farms. We're going to talk about what they're doing. Biddy is another company that they're coming out with the flour. I was talking about the cricket flour. World Entomology. They're going to be shipping us some stuff for the Homesteading Conference, April 5th and 6th. We will be doing some networking events there as well. So the class schedule, we know aquaponics, and we're going to go through rabbits. We're going to do a processing class. So I hope you guys can all join Nick and I out there. We're going to have Scott Yarish out there. We're going to have
Donna Bruce.
Donna, and I'm hoping to have her on for composting, square foot gardening. She is a wealth of information. So we're looking forward to getting her on the show, as well as coming out there with Justin Rohner as well on April 5th and 6th. So be sure and check that out. It's the We Grow Ours events page, or you can look at homesteadingconference.com, Facebook, same type of stuff. We also talked a little bit last week about the State of the Union.
That's right.
We said we were going to talk about it. I think we've elected not to talk about it much because it was exactly what we figured it would be, right?
America, looks like you're all screwed.
Pretty much.
Don't want to play my game? I'm going to override you.
Yeah, I've got a pen and a phone. So I don't think we're going to spend too much time on that, other than to reiterate what we said last week. Try to learn from your neighbor no matter what the politics are.
That's right. Food is the great uniter. We all eat every day. We eat something, and what we buy is, when we buy something, we are voting for how we want it produced. So pay attention. If you've got the money to buy organic and buy local, if you've got the money to buy organic, great. If you don't, find a farmer, buy local. Chances are it's going to be mostly organic anyways. Or talk to him, see if he is organic.
Yeah.
That'll cost you less money because there's no shipping costs.
Right.
And if you're really poor, like moi, grow your own.
Grow your own.
Like we grow ours.
Exactly. Facebook.com/we grow ours.
Oh.
Yeah. He hates it when I do that.
Speaking of ham.
Plug of the week this week. I think, Nick, you've got one, right?
Yep. This one's going to be a little bit long because I really appreciate these guys. For those who don't know, I live out in Queen Creek, Arizona, and I love hardware stores, especially the hardware store out there, Russ's True Value. These guys have helped me accomplish so many projects. And I'm not just talking, I got to change something out. I got to change a toilet out or something like that. I'm talking, what could I use for a rocket fuselage that's off the shelf of a hardware store? All the way to, how do I remove rabbit manure from water in a flow system? And I kid you not, these guys, they see me walking into the room, and the non-veterans walk up, try to help me out. I'm like, no, give me Dave. and Dave's a guy in there that I swear, as long as I've been in Queen Creek, Dave has been in that store. And he really helps out. Whenever I've got an issue, need some weird, either clamp or some weird fixture, I go to Dave, because Dave has seen it all. And Russ, the owner of the store, is a real joy to talk to. He's appreciative of the rabbits, and he tried buying a duck from me, but I took the duck home, and my wife fell in love with it. And when she found out I was gonna dress it out and trade it to the hardware store owner for a bag of nails or something,
You still got the duck, I bet.
Yeah, I still got the duck. His name's Airplane, and he's in our backyard. So
love it.
I really appreciate Russ's True Value. So if you're in Queen Creek, swing by there. If you're in Southwest Wisconsin, however, I recommend you go to Hermson's Hardware.
And how am I going to find these links to put in the show notes?
You know what? Just deal with it, okay? Don't be a big freaking punk. No, it's Hermson's Ace Hardware. And that's there in Bloomington, Wisconsin. And I don't know if they've got a Facebook page, but we'll do some scrounging around and find out.
I'll do that.
I'll give you the owner's cell phone number. Well, he's my uncle.
Oh, there you go. There's the family one there.
Yep.
So that brings up something. True Value is a pretty big name, but they're all independently owned.
That's right.
And if you guys have projects that you're doing and you need input on, I know Lowe's and Home Depot and these big chain stores are a lot of fun to go in. They've got all the tools you need. And if you know what you're looking for, you can get great buys.
Yeah.
But stop by your local hardware store, whether it's a True Value or whether it's, Jim down the road and he's got a little, feed shop / hardware store or something. Go support your local businesses. Try to shop local as well as grow local.
That's right. And what's great about these little hardware stores is, there's a smaller amount of people working there. You can develop a relationship with the guys working there, and they're going to give you follow-up questions on your projects more likely than we'll just say the Orange Aprons will.
Right.
I love Home Depot. Don't get me wrong. I'm a frequenter there, but when I want to get something done and I need expert advice, I go into the local shops. That's where you find the good guys.
Yeah. So shop local.
That's right.
So I'll get those links up too. What else do we got on tap for today? I think that's about it.
That's pretty much it. Just a quick follow-up. We need everybody to get onto the,
SB 1151.
That's right.
The Backyard Farmers United.
Yep. Homegrown Freedom Act. Look it up on Facebook. Backyard Farmers United is one of the groups. There's a fan page. There's a website. All of those things we'll be able to throw in the notes. But folks, I don't care if you live in the northern part of Alaska. If you've got an email and you've got a telephone, call these folks and tell them that this is a good thing. We want a national push for our local issue, because you can use the template. You can, the thing that was hard about writing this bill is there wasn't a bill already written somewhere else. We had to basically make it from scratch. And
something everybody can agree on.
Yes, and we needed something that was neutral politically, and not so much neutral, but stimulating to both sides that they could agree on it. And that's what we came up with. It's a very simply written bill, and it's very eloquent because it's so simply written.
So we've got a long battle ahead, and we need everybody out there to help us out with this. So call to action here. Please
step up,
go to Facebook, take a look at, everybody out there that's doing this, get their input. If you want to make posts on articles that are written, you want to call your representatives and push them to support this or thank them for supporting this. Yes. That's all available online, and be sure and check that out. I know we've got, we're talking about doing a show on beekeeping coming up. We're going to be talking about dairy goats and the uses of the milk, not only to drink, but to do things like soap. I know a lot of the preppers out there sometimes say, oh, why do I want to go? Well, they're going to help feed your family in times of need, and it's always nice to have soap around.
So I got to ask, if you're making soap out of goat's milk, would it be bad goat's milk?
We'll just move on.
Did that derail your train of thoughts?
I have no idea where I was. Yeah. So thanks for joining the We Grow Ours show. You can find us at WeGrowOurs.com. Win $25. Go to WeGrowOurs.com/ask-us. Submit your recorded question, be featured on the show. Facebook.com/WeGrowOurs, and at Twitter, We Grow Ours. Oh, iTunes and Stitcher. Guess what? We Grow Ours.
Oh gosh.
I gotta run through that list every time.
And what's funny is you can't see it, but he is now purple because he didn't breathe through that whole thing.
It's because I don't want the sound in the mic. Yeah, great.
Awesome.
All right. So thank you for everybody for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Jackfest 3, the annual Jackalope Freedom Festival, is happening again, where spontaneous order happens naturally without any force, coercion, or aggression. It will take place August 1st through 3rd in Baca Meadows, located in northern Arizona, just east of Forest Lakes near Black Canyon Lake. This is the one and only completely free Freedom Festival. There will be music, agorism, and keynote campers. This year, the Jackalopes decide which keynote campers to fund. No registration or permission required. Camping spots are on a first-come, first-served basis, so come early and stay late. Visit jackalopefreedomfestival.com for more information, and we hope to see you at Jackfest 3.
Again, It's something that there's that edit here tag again.
Yeah. He's not annoying. There's a sales pitch. We won't annoy you. On what they can tell people. Oh gosh, I can't talk. The Homegrown Freedom Act.
Talk about the Jap.
Attention marijuana users, potheads, and stoners. We Grow Ours is not dedicated to the growing of yours, quote unquote. So please disregard any messages here. But if you want to contribute to society, start growing yours, as in your food, as in your munchies, as in just get off the weed.
The opinions of Nick Klein on We Grow Ours do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Don Cupper. If you want to grow your own marijuana, feel free, as long as it's legal in your state.